me personally, I don't chase fighters. I chase like belts, because the fighters, I'm not gonna die one day and go, oh, I fought this bloke. But who's that bloke? But you say you're undisputed, you had all the belts. That's the accomplishment. But media loves names. They want to see call-outs and this and that. So, is what it is.
Jai Opetaia exposes the real reason he's ducking a high-stakes showdown with David Benavidez, masking the retreat behind a convenient "I chase belts" excuse.
You know, now it's Zuffa. So if Zuffa puts them in front of me, that's who I'm going to fight. Like, I've never handpicked a fight. I've never said I want to fight him. I want to fight for belts. You know, like I want to fight. I don't care who's got the belt. You know, like even saying their names, like Zerto and Benavidez, like, I don't care about them. But if they have the belts, that's who I want to fight. No one wants to say, oh, I want the WBO. They want to hear a name come out of my mouth. You know what I mean?
The cruiserweight kingpin throws a massive curveball by revealing his secret alliance with Dana White's mysterious new promotion.
Well, a big chapter now, you know. It's been a sort of complete sort of change now, you know, signing with Zuffa and Zuffa coming out of nowhere and doing what they're doing now. So, and me being the first world champion to sign with them. You know, when I signed with him, bro, no one was with him. You know what I mean? Like I was the first sort of profile boxer. You know, no one was with him. So it's like, well, I'll take a risk with the boys, and then you know they sort of been backing me ever since. You know, so it's been good.
Opetaia fires back at the sanctioning bodies with complete indifference regarding their political games and stripped titles.
If they fuck, but I don't care, honestly. You know, like I'm chasing unification fights. Obviously, like. I want to collect these belts, or I really want to get that WBO, but they call me to say fight here, fight him here, but done. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is.
The stripped champion exposes the absolute absurdity of the boxing rankings as he plots his next aggressive move.
But like I said, I want the WBO. You know, I want to become undisputed. You know, I want the rest of the belts. You know, I think Chris Smith's sitting at #1 in the IBF now, and I'm sitting at 3. So. Why not fight for a vacant belt? You know what I mean? They just stripped me the fucking, but it is what it is, so.
The plot thickens as the Australian star Opetaia confesses he is completely in the dark about the latest backroom conspiracy against him. He details a pattern of shifting rules and sudden penalties that conveniently create the perfect roadblock for a ducking Benavidez to exploit.
Honestly, bro, I don't have all the answers, to be honest. I've been trying to figure it out.
Is this the second time as well? This is
the second time. The first time I know why. You know, we were fighting on the first Riyadh season, and you know, it was a massive fight. I was fighting, I was rematch against Bradis, who had pulled out for the second time, and then we were meant to be fighting on that card, but he pulled out, so I got a different opponent for the fight because I wanted to stay busy.
Makes sense.
And then they said I wasn't allowed to, and then I just said, but I'm fighting on the card, and then they stripped me for that, which was, you know, you can understand why, because they got a rule book, but. Honestly, I got no clue why they've stripped me this second time. You know, I don't want to get into detail too much or you know, talk too much, but yeah, I don't think it's fair.
The fighter finally addresses the bitter truth about losing the title he bled for in the trenches. He points the finger directly at a deep-rooted corporate bias, claiming he was heavily penalized simply for making the bold moves that left his peers too scared to follow.
You know, I went to the trenches to get that belt, and just the way they just stripped me just because, I don't know, I feel like just because I was associated with Zuffa or whatever, and then, but it is what it is, bro. We just look forward now.
Brushing aside the political chaos, Opetaia taps into a lifelong obsession that no boardroom executive or ducking rival can strip away. He guarantees his loyal followers that the ultimate dream is still alive and that his momentum cannot be stopped by administrative sabotage.
I think it is. You know, obviously I just got to keep winning, but yeah, man, I believe it will happen. You know, I've had this dream in my head since I was a little boy, you know, and I've always chased it, so I'm not stopping now.
The cruiserweight powerhouse draws a line in the sand for the winners of the upcoming mega fight. He issues an ultimatum to whoever survives that clash, declaring that Benavidez can no longer claim true supremacy while actively running from the division's biggest threat.
No, Ramirez and Benavidez will be fighting.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So the winner of that will be the hold of the WBC and WBO, is that correct?
The winner of that should fight me.
You're confident you can get that fight?
I don't see why not. You know what I mean? They want to call themselves the best cruiserweight. They got to take me out first.
In a final explosive breakdown, Opetaia rips the mask off the entire boxing industry by slamming the cowardice running rampant outside the ring. He exposes the massive corporate egos and protective promoters who are actively helping elite fighters take the easy route and dodge legitimate monsters.
But egos, you know, it's the people outside of the ring, I believe. You know, there is some fighters that trying to blame it on that and take the easier routes to get to where they want to go. You know what I mean? They see a hard fight, so they sort of go around it and then try and get to where they want to go. But you know, that's but I feel like promoters, you know, and not working together, and you know, who wants to sort of put their banners on this or that. Like, to be honest, bro, I'm not 100% sure. But I know it's just silly stuff that can just be worked out, but they just, the business and stuff, and it just becomes a circus, you know? So it's frustrating, man, because, you know, this is the sport that I love, and I feel like the best should fight the best no matter what. You know, we want to see, we want to keep leveling up and keep testing ourselves, you know? We want to become the greatest, you know? So there's only one way to do that.
David Benavidez fires right back by calling this the biggest showdown in the entire division and claiming he has zero fear of the monster ahead. However, he immediately shifts the blame by questioning why his rival chose to jump ship to a brand new promotion when they could have shared the ring next.
I mean, I think that's the biggest fight in the world, especially at this weight division, you know, and that's definitely a fight I want. Like I said, I'm not scared of nobody. This is Monstro's world, and if he wants to get that fight, we get that fight. I don't know why he went to Zuffa. We could have made this fight right after this one.
The undefeated star draws a definitive line in the sand regarding the corporate politics and the stripped titles dividing them. He flatly refuses to cross over for a newly made belt, putting the pressure back on his rival to return to traditional networks if he ever wants to make this mega fight a reality.
You know, but now I don't know if he got stripped by the IBF or what it is. You know, I'm not gonna go over there and fight for a Zuffa title. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that would be a great fight to make in the future. And I mean, I respect Jai Opetaia a lot. He's a great fighter, and I think he has to come back over here to make these fights happen, because, you know, we can't make no fights in Zuffa.
Benavidez exposes what he sees as a massive power struggle happening behind the scenes of the boxing world. He calls out the promotional gridlock, preventing the best from fighting the best, offering a final challenge to see if they can actually bypass the suits and reach a real agreement.
I think they definitely are losing the power. I mean, it's just a lot of politics in that. You know, I think Dana White has showed that he doesn't want to do fights with PBC, DAZN. And I don't want to even feel like, I don't want to sound like I'm disrespecting him, but that's just what it looks like from the outside. If we could come to an agreement and make a big fight, let's do it.
Jai Opetaia snaps back by declaring that the contract is incredibly simple to sign from his end and that he is tired of hearing empty talk. He aggressively calls out the hesitation, claiming his rival is deliberately choosing a much safer and smarter path to avoid a dangerous collision.
Man, that fight's easy to make on our side. You know what I mean? I've been ready. I've been, you know, I'll just hear excuses and you know, and this and that, you know, Buzz. Reach out. How bad do you want to fight? How bad do you want to be undisputed cruiserweight? That's an easy fight to make. Yeah. You know, there's all these little excuses and stuff, but it is what it is, man. I think he's going to take a different path, and I think he's going to take a smarter path, to be honest.
The Unified King directly questions why an elite fighter would pass up the golden opportunity to become completely undisputed in a new weight class. He puts the ball squarely in his rival's court, making it clear that despite all the corporate business talk, the fight happens tomorrow if the fear is cast aside.
Do you think he doesn't want the fight?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Why?
What do you think? Do you think he doesn't want the fight?
I don't know if my opinion is.
No, I'm asking. I'm asking.
For
do you think he doesn't want the fight?
For me as a fan, I'd love to see the fight.
Yeah, but do you think he doesn't want the fight?
I don't know. I think Benavidez is a fighter. You know, he's obviously jumped up in weights.
Well, why wouldn't he want to become undisputed? Yeah. You know, he's got both belts. I got 2 belts. Like, I got the Ring magazine. Like, why wouldn't he take the fight? Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
But I guess your opinion, like.
I suppose you know, he's got some big fights to make, and you know, there's a lot of weight division. If he can make it, like, I see the business side of it. You know what I mean? It makes sense to do whatever he wants to do. So the ball's in his court, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, you know, I'm not a disrespectful dude, you know, I don't disrespect other fighters, but that's an easy fight to make if he wants it, so.
Yeah.
Boxing insider Sean Zittel exposes a massive breakdown in communication behind the scenes as a desperate promotional scramble unfolds. He reveals that key messages went completely unanswered because an unexpected shift in leadership left the power player's father totally locked out of the loop.
Team Benavidez, so I called Jose Sr., and he said, well, I text Dana White, I text Turki Al-Sheikh, I text Mick Francis, who is Jai Opetaia's manager, and I text them shortly after David knocked out Zurdo Ramirez about a potential fight with Jai Opetaia, and he was not, none of them returned any messages to Jose Sr. So the other parties I talked to involved said, well, that's because David, and it's interesting because you did ask David about him and his father right after the fight, and David wound up saying, I did have to have a talk with my dad at some point to let him know, like, I'm a man now and I run the show when it comes to my career. So they said, well, the reason why nobody would get back to Jose is because we were told Louis DeCubas from David is the guy who handles his affairs now. Well, Jose counters that, well, even if you are going to talk to Louis DeCubas, I'm still his manager, you know, in writing, and I have to finalize anything that David's going to do.
Zittel flips the entire script on the ducking narrative by questioning whether an actual contract was ever put on the table. He digs into the underlying business motives, suggesting that both fighters are locked in a political stalemate while completely different matchups are secretly being finalized. This stunning revelation suggests the public callouts are nothing more than a smokescreen to hide the fact that neither camp has taken a real step toward a signature.
What I then asked was, okay, well, then did Louis DeCubas ever get an offer from Team Opetaia? And I did not get a yes on that question. So I don't know if it's fair to say Benavidez is ducking Opetaia when they never got an offer. And actually the fight that's been in the works for months is Noel Mikhailian. You remember Noel Mikhailian and Opetaia had a face-off photo after the inaugural Zuffa event, or it might have been the second Zuffa show, but I think it was the first one. And then a couple weeks ago, it was being reported that Mikhailian and Opetaia are closing in on a fight. So that's been the fight in the works for a while, not making an offer to David Benavidez to fight Opetaia for the cruiserweight title. Now, they also told me, we don't think Benavidez is ducking Jai, but obviously Jai isn't. He wants to fight David. Both fighters aren't ducking each other. It's just, this is the business right now. Sean understands this even better than me. He's been through it.
The insider reveals the chaotic fallout after top-tier division plans crumbled and left management scrambling for an alternate route. He explains why the challengers camp suddenly viewed the cruiserweight champion as an unprofitable risk, choosing instead to wait for a better opportunity. It is a harsh reality check, showing how quickly a legacy-defining mega fight can be discarded when the numbers at the box office do not add up.
So from Jose's standpoint, the first and second options were Bivol and Beterbiev, right? But now I'm here. He believes that Bivol and Beterbiev will have a trilogy, which means Benavidez can't get either one of them. And the other people I talked to involved said they heard that Bivol and Beterbiev will stage their trilogy in Russia. And it'll be funded by the Russians, not by the Saudis, okay? Which would make sense why Bivol was fighting in Russia over the weekend.
Of course.
So if you're Jose Benavidez and you're not keen on an Opetaia fight, you feel like it's not a big fight yet, because Opetaia fought in front of like 800 people when he defended the lineal title against Brandon Glanton. And besides, you know, you're not getting messages returned to you. I understand their reasons why they stayed. Why? Well,
The backstage drama intensifies as Zittel uncovers a failed secret meeting in Las Vegas that completely halted the mega fight negotiations. He details how strict network contracts and sudden legal threats forced the power players to back away, leaving the fighters completely isolated. This hidden boardroom clash proves that the biggest battles are often fought by lawyers long before anyone ever gloves up.
Apparently they had a meeting in late 2024. Jose Benavidez was flown out to Las Vegas to try to make a fight. He couldn't get David on the phone, but then Jose says, well, once I told the people with Turkey, including the attorney Harrison Whitman, hey, PBC has to be involved in this fight. They say he didn't want PBC involved, and that's part of why he was having the meeting with Turkey to make the Beterbiev fight at the time. Because Beterbiev had beaten Bivol in the first fight. And he says, no, once I told them that PBC has to be involved, or else we would, you know, come on, why would we even pull a stunt like that? You get sued for that. We have contracts. Then that's when the fight was taken off of the table. But ultimately, he couldn't get David on the phone, and they say David told them eventually, well, Louis the guy you got to talk to anyways. Anyways, they wind up doing Better Biev Bivol 2 instead. And so from Jose's standpoint, if we can't get Bivol and Better Biev, and if Opetaia and Michaelian's been in the works for months either, and I can't get my calls returned from these people up until the WBC said David is now the mandatory. And that's when he did get a call on Friday night from Mick Francis, and they had like a 12-minute convo.
Yeah.
You know, Mick Francis saying, well, okay, when should we put this fight together? So his best move, he felt then, was to petition the WBC to mandate David for the WBC title at cruiserweight. If we can't get Bivol and Better Biev, and the Opetaia fight is not the fight being made right now, and Opetaia has a fight for a few months now lined up with Michaelian anyways, then let's just keep collecting hardware. So now Michaelian, he sounds like he will be stripped if he fights Opetaia for the lineal cruiserweight title, but it won't be for the sanctioning body belts, the WBC and the IBF. Right.
Zittel delivers the final verdict on the financial warfare dictating who takes the next step in the ring. He breaks down the massive sacrifice of turning away from heavily subsidized foreign money, leaving a dangerous title shot as the only remaining gamble for the second half of the year. It is a high-risk political maneuver that forces a proud contender to choose between the safety of traditional promoters or a chaotic gamble on absolute supremacy.
Instead, Benavidez would fight in the second half of this year for that WBC title, whether it's Michaelian, who would, in their words, make less fighting Benavidez because it's not subsidized by Turkey, who's gonna give you more money to fight Opetaia. So that's where we're standing at right now.
Ultimately, the collision course between Jai Opetaia and David Benavidez highlights the deep promotional divide and corporate warfare currently dictating the sport of boxing. While both fighters claim a willingness to square off, the competing networks, silent phone calls, and sudden sanctioning body mandates have effectively locked the matchup in a political stalemate. Until the massive promotional egos and backroom contracts are cast aside, fans will be left watching a high-stakes chess match played out by advisors and executives rather than the two elite warriors inside the ring. This ongoing deadlock threatens to freeze the entire division at a time when fans are desperate to see the absolute best face the absolute best. If these two forces cannot find a middle ground soon, we might look back at this as one of the greatest missed opportunities of the modern era. The true tragedy is that the fighters are willing to bleed for supremacy, yet the ink on corporate contracts remains the ultimate roadblock. What do you think is the real roadblock preventing this massive cruiserweight showdown from happening? And do you believe David Benavidez is genuinely avoiding the danger Jai Opetaia brings, or is he simply trapped in promotional politics? Who do you think actually holds the leverage in these intense negotiations if Dana White decides to push even harder for Zuffa boxing? Will the WBC mandate force Benavidez into a corner where he has no choice but to fight his mandatory challenger instead? Can Opetaia realistically claim undisputed status while the biggest name in his weight class refuses to cross over to his promotional network? Do you believe Jose Benavidez Sr. is getting deliberately frozen out of these massive career decisions by his own son? Is the massive financial backing of the Saudis enough to eventually shatter the stubborn network walls of PBC and DAZN? If this blockbuster fight never gets signed, which fighter loses more credibility in the eyes of the global boxing public? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this.